Alright, welcome back. This is a review for Fruits Basket 2019, episode 22. And in this episode, we actually get Hana's backstory. Now, before I say anything else, I'll say that this is actually, this Hana's backstory, unlike Uo's backstory, which is a two-part, or it's actually a three-part chapter in the manga. Hana's backstory is only a one-part. It only has one chapter in the manga, and it's actually chapter 51, and that's all the way in volume 9. Um, and unlike with Uo's backstory, where there was actually like a build up and kind of a little story around it, Hana's backstory is it just starts and then ends, and there's no build up around it on either side of the other chapters. It's a self contained chapter right then and there. And so I feel like having it after the fan club episode where at the where she admits that Hana admits that Toru is always going to be her weakness. It actually really fits to have Hana's backstory right afterwards, because then you understand why she says Toru is her weakness. Um, so I like that they rearrange. I like this rearrangement of the chapters right here. I think it fits and flows very well. So that way it's not just like randomly out of nowhere you get a Hana episode, but it's not connected to anything else that's going on around it. Um, anyway, so the actual episode is actually just Hana's backstory, and it's definitely a lot darker. It's a lot darker of a backstory than. I mean, we've gotten some definitely some dark elements here, but this is like, in terms of Hana, it's like really bad, like extremely bad bullying. Um, and so pretty much for those of you who, because I know that there are I read some people saying they didn't actually realize that Hana's powers were actually real. Like, no, they are actually real. This episode confirms it. And that, because some people thought she was just joking around, but no, she's real. Her powers are in fact real. But you find out in the episode that she had the powers, and that she could always be able to kind of vaguely hear / sense people's feelings and thoughts, kind of. It's more of their feelings though than anything else. Um, and so she wound up getting called a witch at school because of that, in her elementary school. And there were some boys, in particular one boy, who wound up picking on her and forced her to eat a live newt, because he had heard that witches are supposed to eat live newts. To which Hana, obviously, after being force fed to eat a live newt, reacts obviously negatively, and it's understandable. And she wishes that he would die, and the boy pretty much collapses, and of course Hana freaks out, because she's like, I basically almost killed this kid. Um, so of course you see her go back home, and you know, she's like, she tells her parents, when are you gonna turn me into the police, because I should be thrown in jail. I should be punished for what I did. I tried to kill him. I wanted him to die. And of course, her parents are like, hey, well, you don't, there's no proof that it was your powers that did it. She's like, well, there's also no proof that it wasn't, because I legitimately wanted him to die, and I'm pretty sure that I used my powers. Um, I'm actually going to stop right there before I continue on with the story and say that Hana's episode in general is probably the best, in terms of that we actually get an introduction to an actual supportive family, and that actually has, like, it has two sets of parents, and it's even she has a complete supported family. It's not just like it's a single mother or a single father, or any of that. She actually has a complete family that is completely and utterly supportive of her, and wants to help her with her situation and figure out how to use her powers. And I absolutely love that about Hana's family. It's like the best family in Fruits Basket. I mean, there's some definitely other little families that we'll get introduced to later on, but this is like the best one. Um, anyway, so, Hana pretty much decides that she's going to start wearing black as kind of a way of punishing herself for her crimes, and for what she did. She feels like she deserves it. Um, and eventually, her brother Megumi, comes in and says, "Hey, you shouldn't, you don't." it's not really, because some more kids were blaming her for injuring them, even though it really wasn't her fault. It was the kid just tripped or whatever. And she kind of was, in a sense, kind of blaming herself and saying, "Yeah, I should," even though obviously in this case, it obviously was she didn't do anything to this kid. She was, in a sense, blaming herself for it, and said, being isolated like this from all the other kids is justification. And Megumi was like, you shouldn't think that way. You shouldn't. I don't think you should be punished for what you did. You you can't go on living like this. You need people to support you. And so he says, "Yeah, I'll pray that there is someone out there who does love you. I can't go on living in a world, or not that he can't go on, but I can't believe that in this entire world that there isn't someone out there who doesn't love you. And even if they're far away, even if they're living on a plane, even if they live in some other country, I pray that they'll come over, even if they have to fly on a plane and come and meet you. I want them to come and meet you and show you that there are people out there other than just your direct family that do care for you and do love you, and don't care about your powers and such like that." Um, and his little prayer kind of gets answered in this episode with her meeting Toru, but I can't get into it later on because it's not even actually in a fruits basket. It's actually in a fruits basket another. That little saying kind of gets brought back up again, um, and it's kind of funny but also very sweet and poetic. Anyway, but Hana continues to get bullied. She winds up in middle school, and there's girls who are they burn her with a cigarette in order to try to, or a lighter or a cigarette, or a match. There goes a match. They try to get her to use her powers, and Hana this entire time is like, "I can't use them. I don't want to use them. I don't want to use them." And is glad, of course, when she doesn't. And of course, during all this time, Megumi and her parents and her grandmother are all trying to research and figure out ways to uh, figure out how to help her understand her powers and to control her powers. Um, but she winds up getting transferred to a new school where she meets Uo and Toru, and they kind of come up to her and they connect with her, and she's like, "You guys are weird," and she's like, and they're like, "Yeah, we get that." And I thought that was hilarious. um, it was a really cute scene. But then she says they become fast friends, and she describes that the normal sunsets that she would see on her way home when she was by herself that would normally kind of seem lonely to her, and she didn't really care much for them. Now she almost looked forward to them in a way because she actually had two friends. She actually had people to go home and walk home with, and so she said she was happy. She actually got to experience some joy in her life, and she nearly forgot, as she put it, her place in this world, which was that she should be isolated from everyone else, that she shouldn't be around everyone else because of her powers. She nearly had forgotten that until it got brought up one day by one of the other girls in her class, and Hana kind of freaked out a little bit, um, and ran away. And Toru and Uo both come up and confront her, and Uo and Hana's like, "Hey, you shouldn't be near me. It is true. I do have these powers. I did almost kill a boy when I was in elementary school. I'm sorry. You guys should just stay away from me." And then Toru's like, "But we just started becoming friends, and I don't want us to separate. I don't want us to go our own ways and not be friends anymore. I love you, Hana. We both and we both love you, and we don't want you to go away." And Uo obviously steps in as well and says, "Hey, like, it's up to you. We don't really care about your past. We don't care what happened. We don't care about your powers. But if you want to go your separate way, you have to tell us now. It has to be your decision, not anyone else's, not the world's. It has to be your decision. What do you want to do?" And of course, Hana accepts, and she's like, "No, I don't want to go away. I want to be your friends. I want to keep getting close to you guys. I want to." Because you guys do care for me, you guys do love me, um, and it's a very sweet moment, and it's adorable, and then of course I love the framing of this entire episode up until this point, and that up until this point where Hana finally accepts the feelings of both Toru and Uo, and realizes that there are people out there other than her own family that do care about her and love her. That up until this point, everything was kind of has this really grayscale effect, where not everything isn't quite as colorful. There's still color in the world, but everything's definitely more has a gray tone to it. And then after this point, everything becomes more colorful in the world. Everything, all the colors are more vibrant and such. And it's a really nice way of showing the theme of that Hana kind of as emotionally felt like she was, isolated with this, black and white, that she lived in her own little world, and that, she shouldn't touch anyone else, that she was scared to. And then with Toru and Uo coming in, that they helped her to actually bring life into her world. And then of course she winds up getting control of her powers. She winds up learning to control her powers, and she got the hang of it, and everything's said and good, and it's done, and the episode basically kind of just ends. With the little funny joke of, oh, if we started wearing any other color, with, her and Megumi talking in present day, going, all we do is ever wear black, and Hana's like, if Megumi, you don't actually have to wear black with me anymore if you don't want to. And Megumi's like, nah, I just feel too comfortable in this. Plus, anyway, like, if we started wearing any other color, it would just be weird. And it's just funny. But it's true, though. But no, this episode's really great. I absolutely loved it. And again, I love that they rearranged it and put it right after the Yuki fan club's visitation to her house, because it flows a lot better and it connects a lot better story wise. But that's really about it. So I think I'm only one more episode behind. I mean, I've watched it already. I just need to actually make the review for it. But that's really about it. So thanks for watching, and bye for now.